when I listen to you talk about, line mates and you know, Alex Newhook, who isn't setting the world on fire and playing on a line with Kirby Doc as they're trying to find their way. I'm reminded of one of the options that was put out there last week, and that is Patrik Laine on the top line.
No.
Why the no? I'm with you. I'm with you, right? But what you just finished saying about playing with better line mates, elevating your play, I can't help but ask the question. Patrik Laine with Alex Newhook and Kirby Doc, it worked, and then it hasn't been working. So to your point about leveling up, playing with better players, like Juraj Slafkovsky, I'm sorry, it was a little bit of a red flag before the break that in game against New Jersey, he had to have another wake up call, and he said that publicly. Whatever, it is what it is. He needed
How
another
many do
wake
you
up call.
need?
He got it. He got it. Was it at least 3 this season by my count? But
Yeah.
anyways, he got off that line and played better. So does Patrik Laine on the top line sound crazy now or not? Or yes, it sounds crazy.
The duo of Nick Suzuki and Cole Caufield have not necessarily been the best at 5-on-5, right? They get
Right.
a lot of their points on the power play. I think half of Nick Suzuki's points last season were on the power play. So like like they're very successful and they're going to be, they're close to being point per game players, right? So it's not like they're not productive and it's not like they're not good players, but you don't want to put someone who you feel is a liability defensively in that kind of a situation. I definitely agree that they need size on that top line, which is the reason why Juraj Slafkovsky is there in the first place. Laine would be a good help in that case. He was throwing all kinds of body in the Finland-Sweden game, so like I get that. But to me, the offensive potential is significantly outweighed by the defensive potential for disaster. And I think that's the key, especially with the fact that the Montreal Canadiens defense isn't exactly super solid to begin with. So if that was the Montreal Canadiens second line, I would be a little bit more, comfortable as if I were a coach to put those three together. But as a top line with the top checking, like the one thing I will tell you is it's not necessarily the best players that will like it's not playing with the best players that will make you look better. It's about playing with the right players. And I'll give you a direct example. Every single time Juraj Slafkovsky plays on the same line as Brendan Gallagher, he suddenly becomes a Lion. Every single time. It's infectious because Gallagher will drag you into the war. That's what he does. Right. You can argue that he's not worth his contract. I don't think anybody's going to get an argument out of me in terms of the fact that he's never going to be able to live up to $6.5 million at this point. But the type of player that Gallagher is brings out something out of other players. And so a guy like Juraj Slafkovsky can learn a lot in terms of intensity and physicality and playing to your strengths by playing with a guy like Gallagher. A guy like Patrik Laine, honestly, if I had to pick a Canadiens player of yesteryear, a guy like Patrik Laine would look very good next to a guy like, say, Thomas Plekanec, because Thomas Plekanec was a full two-way 70-point center.
So smart,
when he was playing. Exactly. Yeah. So you need that kind of center for a player. I agree. Like Patrik Laine. So
what does that say? What does that say then about Nick Suzuki? I mean, I love what you're saying. It makes
Nick
logical
Suzuki's
sense in my brain.
He's being overtaxed and has been for the last 3 seasons.
Well, why can't Suzuki drag Slafkovsky into the battle the way Gallagher seemingly does?
He does. He absolutely does. If you look at last year, I don't think Juraj Slafkovsky gets 50 points if he does not play with Nick Suzuki. Right? Like I have to be clear when I say I'm not saying that Nick Suzuki made Juraj Slafkovsky's season last year, but I don't think Juraj Slafkovsky, I'll give it, we'll put apples and oranges together. I think that Ivan Demidov is going to produce next season with the Montreal Canadiens, independent of who he's going to play with. I did not believe the same thing with Juraj Slafkovsky last year, nor this season. And I think that's no disrespect to a guy like Juraj Slafkovsky. I think Juraj Slafkovsky is going to be fine. I think
they're two different players.
More than fine. Yeah. But I think that we need to stop with the connotation of, he's a first overall pick. He was a first overall pick in a draft that didn't have a first overall pick. It is what it is. So when you look at the way he's being developed nice and slowly. The concerning part is the amount of wake-up calls he needs. So when you look at a guy like Nick Suzuki has been bringing his wingers into the fight since 2019. Like
Right.
it is what it is, what he does, right? And so the reason why they played him with Cole Caufield, Cole Caufield is a fantastic player when it comes to scoring goals, and he's done a lot better defensively as well. But again, unfortunately, a liability of 5-on-5. He doesn't cover much ice, and in that, he's gotten a lot better. He's playing much smarter, and I think that's
Yeah.
great. Learning from him, and it's going to help him moving forward. But you can't have two players like that on the
Agreed.
same line and be Nick Suzuki, who's routinely asked to play like 20, 21 minutes a game. If the Canadiens had a bona fide number two-way center, like a Thomas Plekanec, for example, for Canadiens fans, then I think the load on a guy like Nick Suzuki would be alleviated, and he would be able to focus more on the offensive side of the puck.
What do you say? I found it a cheap shot. I'm just curious to get your reaction. Some fans were critical of Juraj because he decided to go to a warmer climate when Lane Hutson was with BU.
Sorry, Lane Hutson went to
Well, you saw
cheer his brothers
he went to
on at the
cheer his
Bean
brother
Pot.
on. He read he
Yeah,
read the lineup in the locker room, right? Got the guys going before the
yeah,
finale,
sure,
so he's practicing, he was skating with some of the guys,
yeah.
and the I'll call them haters, whereas like
Okay.
this guy's out playing volleyball in Mexico while Lane's playing hockey in Boston. I mean, I
Thomas
found it.
Harley was on Thomas Harley was on his way to Cabo when he got a call from Team Canada to join. Like, what is this argument?
Stop.
Like, what is this argument? The
Yes.
players were
Yeah.
going on vacation.
Yes.
The players
Jake
were
Evans
going
went to the
places.
Bahamas. Like,
Yeah,
what
like
do you want him to do?
I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Hockey players are people. Like
Yeah.
I'm going on vacation in 2 months. Should I not? Is it a dig at my work ethic? Like, no. Like, if
Take your
anything,
microphone with you,
resetting.
Marco. Take your mic
Yeah,
with you.
I don't. I can't. I don't think they'll let me take that through security. But like when you're looking at a situation like this right now, almost every single hockey player in the NHL that's not in the Four Nations tournament is on vacation.
Yeah.
Almost all of them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's I spoke to some guys at the Four Nations, not current players but former players, that
Yeah.
said that a lot of the guys around the team, especially like I was talking to some guys on around Team Sweden and Team USA. A lot of the guys are on vacation down south, or in Europe, or
Yeah.
like it's fine. It's okay. It
Like,
is
what
what
did
it
they want?
is.
Did they want Uri to look like Rocky training, running up Mount Royal,
Well, look,
going to
I
the
will
lookout
say
with
I will
logs on
say
his
this.
back? Like, I kind of
I will say this.
yeah.
Should fans be critical of Juraj Slafkovsky's physical training and preparedness for this for seasons? Sure. I mean I would see where they were coming from. I think
Yeah.
that Juraj Slafkovsky this summer, if he is not like trained daily by a power skating coach, I think it's a missed opportunity. I feel like
Right.
if he can get that extra step in his game, he will be an elite force in the NHL. But I don't think that now is the time to do that, right? Like the season is grueling. We all talked about the schedule for the last 6 weeks and how crazy it was, and all the traveling the Canadians did. These guys need a break,
Yeah.
and so like I get it. You get a week and a half off. You're gonna take it. You're gonna go, and then you come back recharged and ready to go. I'd rather that, from a hockey perspective, than having them train the entire time and be gassed if they're in a
No
playoff
kidding.
run and
I
get
just wanted
more
to get your
critiqued
take.
for it. So like, there's two ways of looking at it. There's two ways of looking at it. Like, for example, we interviewed Alex Ovechkin. Alex Ovechkin is currently in Florida training
I
with
saw
Darius
that.
Kasparaitis and
I
Dmitry
saw that.
Orlov.
I
Yeah.
saw
So
that.
like, Ovechkin's going to war. He's trying to hit that Wayne Gretzky
Yeah.
number like this season, and he's going to war for it. So there's that kind of like work ethic, right? Where like Ovechkin can have a full dad bod in the summer and then drop like 30 pounds in a matter of like 6 weeks and be like a
Yeah.
star in the NHL at the age of 39.
God.
And then you
What
have
I
what Juraj Slafkovsky's doing. So I get what's going on, and I get the frustration because you would want a guy like him to perform better and be more physical and be more
yeah.
intense and more engaged. Get that 100%. But I don't think hammering the nail is how you get it done.
Well said. Just wanted to bring that up. Just wanted to bring that up. Always great, fantastic conversation. Enjoyed your coverage of the Four Nations, and as the week unfolds, we'll see what happens depending on what time you're watching or listening to this. Where you can find the Shaun Starr Show on all your favorite audio podcast platforms like Apple Music and Spotify and everywhere in between, and of course right here on YouTube.com. And you can follow Marco D'Amico at MND'Amico on Twitter, on Blue Sky, and with RG at the RG Media on Twitter. Marco, great stuff as always. I know you're not going to be with us next week. You're off to the Lone Star State for some business. So we'll catch up. I think we're going to do something when you get back. So don't fret. We've got lots more coming up as we get close to the March 7th trade deadline. Keep it locked right here. Marco, thanks, brother.
Always a pleasure.